quite possibly the biggest question and issue when it comes to back pain. Is my back pain going to be forever? So, without trying to make big, broad, sweeping strokes, reality is it depends, but I've probably found in pretty much all the cases I've worked with, except maybe one or two, so if you say 90%, say, the answer is no. But that depends upon a couple of things, because it's a little bit tricky. It's not so much like your back suddenly is just like a light switch, it's just fixed and it's turned off and everything's fine, and you go about your daily business again. A lot of it is about that, when it comes to back pain, there's two things you really need to look at. The first one, which is probably most important, is that, say for example, you've got disc bulges or disc degeneration or herniation, whatever it may be. If you've got one or two vertebrae that have got bulges and basically they're worn out and everything else is fine, then there must be movements or habits that you've got that tend to place that wear and tear on those discs and not anything else. So your goal long term with your back, if you want to preserve what you've got left in terms of the back, in terms of disc height, is you want to identify those movements and habits and take them out, or at least start to modify them so they're not so taxing. Provided you do that, in actual fact, disc bulges and herniations, if you take out those bad movements, they'll actually gristle, harden, and the body can actually nibble away and heal them up. What it can't do is it can't reinflate disc height. That's when, if you've lost too much disc height, that's when you have to have sort of surgery and have maybe like a man-made disc put in there, or maybe some sort of bracing to kind of shore it up, if you like. But if you leave disc bulges alone long enough, they will actually start to heal. I would have thought it would have taken maybe a year or maybe even 2 years for that to happen. But I have seen MRIs in articles from people like Dr. Andrew Locke, and he's got MRIs that show within sort of 3 or 4 months you can actually start to get a significant improvement. But that's dependent on your ability to identify the movements that contribute to the disc bulge or herniation, and being conscious and diligent enough to take those out on a daily basis. Because if your back's still sensitive, even after a few months of trying to work on it, there's usually a good chance there's a movement in there that's causing a bit of a problem. The second thing you need to look at is, what are the muscular weaknesses and impairments that you might have got which is causing you to be more encouraged to move in ways that place the back at a bit of risk? So are there certain stability issues, or maybe imbalances between left and right? Are there certain muscles doing more work than others? Are there things that need to be ironed out so that we can brace the spine, the lumbar spine, and protect it? So really its only job then is to hold you upright so that your hips can do the bulk of the work and you're not wearing down those discs. And what you'll find long term is that there's always going to be certain movements, certain habits, certain postures that you're always going to need to avoid, because it will resensitize the back. And there's always going to be certain movements and exercises that you need to do because they strengthen up your weak areas. So one of the things that makes working with backs a little bit tricky is that although people have generally, there are similarities in that generally most people get bulges at like L5, S1, L4, L5, L3, L4, that sort of area between those three. Generally most of them do come out towards the back because people generally flex too much. What makes it a little bit tricky is that each person's body will adapt your movement habits in a slightly different way to perhaps the next person. So that's why it becomes a little bit tricky with the exercises you use, although there are certain exercises everyone really will benefit from. For example, everyone really benefits from working their glutes, for example. The way in which you do it for each person is probably going to be a little bit different. And it gets finicky to the point where you can have two people with exactly the same back issue, or very similar, mirrored if you like, and they need to do the same exercises, but you might find that the order in which you do the exercises needs to be slightly different for each person. So although they're safe exercises, if you do them in slightly the wrong order, it just aggravates the back a little bit and you need to just change the order. So that's what makes working with backs long term a little bit more challenging. But also, long term, the key with back pain, I think, is that once you've got a disc injury or an issue, I don't think you'll ever get it to maybe 100% in my experience. You'll probably get it to very close to like 99%, but that only maintains if you're avoiding the things you shouldn't be doing and you're doing all the things you should be doing to keep it up there. You know, I'm always quite amazed that, you know, people have got, you know, I've had a couple of cases this year with guys that have been with me maybe 6-8 months, back's going great, we're back in the gym, and it might be something simple as, you know, their truck's gone in for, you know, to be worked on, and they've had to change to a little small car, and if they're quite a big tall dude, just the fact of squeezing the tiny little car and, you know, 3 or 4 times a day, because that's such an aggravating movement for them, that back's gone from 99 and in the space of a week it's gone down right down to almost 10%, and they're all kind of flared up and it's kind of buckled. But having said that, as quick as it will come down, if you identify that aggravating movement or habit, take it out again. It's amazing how quickly it comes back the other way once the back's strong. So long term, you definitely want to make the back as strong as you can, and you want to take away any aggravating movement so that it becomes a lot more robust. And your goal in terms of, you know, like if you like a bank balance in terms of movement as to how much work your back can do before it all flares up and gives out, all those little bad habits that you've got make little withdrawals on it. If you can take those out, preserve what you've got, and then start to build it with interest, you start to build yourself nice big safety buffers for the days we can't avoid doing certain things that might aggravate the back. But you'll make a bit of a withdrawal, but you've still got plenty of safety buffer left in there, so the back isn't going to kind of, you know, flare up and get angry. So long term, I would say, and there's a great article by Dr. Andrew Locke. He's someone I very highly respect. He's been working with lower backs for 20-25 years now, and I think also, like me as well, what really sets him apart is he's had to kind of rehab his own back issues before, which is always a good way to really get a feel for what works and what doesn't, because there is a lot of crap out there when it comes to working with back pain. He's got a great article. I'm pretty sure the title is "Back Pain Isn't Forever, but Exercise Is," and I'd wholeheartedly agree with that. You can definitely get yourself out of trouble, and I reckon you can definitely get yourself to sort of 99%. At the very least, you can get yourself pain-free for day-to-day life. You might not be able to necessarily get back into all the sports and activities you might have done before. I mean, it depends what they are. But you can definitely get yourself to 99%. You should be able to get at least pain-free for walking around day to day, provided you keep out those bad habits and you keep doing all the things that keep the back strong. And it's a question of just changing your habits and maintaining that back strength and robustness. So yes, definitely. I definitely think that you can, you know, back pain isn't forever. If you have got a long-standing issue, maybe, then probably what you're doing hasn't quite been right, or you've got aggravating movements and habits that you haven't identified yet, which if you take them out, you'll find your back will kind of get to that next sort of stage of being a little bit better and a little bit stronger. Pretty good.